So today we're going to be doing Bab 1, Pengenalan kepada Perakaunan and Klasifikasi. So for Bab 1, Pengenalan kepada Perakaunan, right? Actually, I only chose some important subtopics to cover. So it's not going to be the entire chapter, of course. If you wanted the entire chapter, you could have just read your textbook actually, because some parts is just memorizing, not much of a key point. So I've chosen a few. The first one that I've picked out is the Kitaran Perakaunan. So this is actually on page 2, yeah, guys. All right, page 2. So you guys take a look at page 2. Now, the Kitaran Perakaunan is actually a cycle that we have to follow, accounting cycle. So this cycle would be done every year by the accountants. So why do we need to have this cycle? So that you know what are your first step, your second step, third step, and the fourth step. So if you go according to the steps, then your recording will be a fuller version and also more in details, okay? So there is total of 8 peringkat, which is 8 stages in your Kitaran Perakaunan. So for your first exam, right, if you guys are having your first exam, Kitaran Perakaunan will have a high chance to come out, but also it very depends on your school teacher. Like if your school teacher wants to come out, then she will do so. And probably it will be like a fill in the blanks kind of question. Okay, so for Kitaran Perakaunan, it will be a fill in the blanks kind of question. So it depends on your teacher. If she wants to ask the entire thing to give you 8 marks in total, then she would leave all these boxes empty. So you need to fill up every single stage by yourself. But if it's fill in the blanks, meaning to say there might be some parts is empty. So example, they give you the first one, document perniagaan, and the second one, they just put blank, means you have to know what is the second box here supposed to be. So that is what the Kitaran Perakaunan is going to be asked for. Okay, yeah. So by the way, before I go in depth into this Kitaran Perakaunan, there's a few things you need to understand first so that you don't get so confused as we go into chapter 2. So the first thing is going to be your understanding towards account. Okay, what is the reason for us to do accounting? The reason that we're doing accounting is so that we can balance every single thing. So the main point is to balance out. Our aim is to balance, okay? Reason as well. So then the second thing is, how are we going to record our transaction? How to record. Now we record everything in terms of RM. So RM, right, it doesn't mean it must be money, okay? It can be in either you treat it as a money form or you treat it as the value of your item. Okay, it is in a value form or money form. So depends on the question itself lah. So if let's say I'm talking about I bought a phone, okay? Now this phone, I spent 3,000 ringgit. So of course, I'm keeping the phone with me, right? Whenever people ask me, how much is your phone? I would answer them in RM 3,000, not 1 unit. Because that's not what they're asking for. They're asking me how much is the price of your phone. Because obviously people can see, you guys have eyes, right? Okay, I'm holding a phone. How many is this? 1 lah. Why would I still tell you 1, right? Okay, so sorry guys, am I lagging? Am I lagging? Because it shows me that I'm unstable with the Wi-Fi. Oh, okay. But can you guys hear me just now? Do I need to repeat any parts? Which part was I lagging? Or is it okay, then I'll just move on, yeah? All right, so for our recording part, I would say again, everything we put in RM form, it doesn't mean that it is money. So money, we treat it as tunai or bank lah. But if let's say you're talking about the value of the item, we will still record it in the RM way. Okay, so this is the reason we want to do accounting so we can do balancing. And of course, we want to keep recording. So every single item must be in details, of course. So I know that where your money goes to and why your money is coming in, and as well as how did we obtain the item. This will all be recorded into the books. Okay, so starting from our first stage of the cycle, which is document perniagaan. So document perniagaan will be used as a form of receipt. So why do we receive receipts? Actually, is as a proof of transaction. Proof of transaction. Okay, so the proof of transaction, it will show us also in details inside what is happening, what am I buying, and what is the matter. So then we have two types of document, but I don't really need to go in that because for your first exam, chapter 1, they won't ask you to explain what is document. But we have two types of document actually. One is called document sumber, and the other one is called document bukan sumber. So document sumber are the ones that we will actually need to record into the next stage, which is buku catatan pertama. Okay, so why is that? Because sumber means there is information inside, and the information would actually involve transactions. Involve transactions. Now, for bukan sumber, right? Bukan sumber is only as a reminder or a reference to be used as a reference. So that's why it explains why we will need to record the sumber into buku catatan pertama instead of bukan sumber. So all these document bukan sumber, we'll just be keeping it in a file, and whenever we need to refer back, we will just go take the file out and see. There's no place for you to record them. Meanwhile, for document sumber, we will do keep the receipt and also to put them into their respective books. So buku catatan pertama, this is in our chapter 4. Okay, so I believe that some of you say you already done Bab 3, right? Okay, Bab 3 is document Pengenalan. So maybe I put somewhere here. This is your Bab 3. And buku catatan pertama is Bab 4. So what does we do in Bab 4? Bab 4 is your main books. So buku catatan pertama, your first layer of recording. Okay, first layer of record. So we do not go very in depth, but instead we're trying to categorize them into different transactions. So different books were meant for different payment methods. So total we have 4 books. Okay, 4 books, and which is meant for different types of transaction. So over here is still not very in detail. So it means that you want to refer to your buku catatan pertama for what's happening. It's a little bit difficult, and you cannot just pinpoint to see, I want to know how much is tonight. I can't tell from there. So where can we tell is when you go to the next layer that is called your ledger. Okay, now this ledger is your Bab 5. What do we do in ledger actually? Ledger will help you in finding out what is the remaining balance. That is what we call as baki. Remaining balance for every single item. So when I say for every single item, you can imagine in your shop here, you can have up to 100 items. So those 100 items will have each and every one of them with their own ledger. And that is where you find their remaining balance through it. So what is a ledger? Ledger's shape is a T shape. So this T shape will have to be called as debit side for the left. Debit side for the left. And credit side as the right hand side. So the debit and the credit is actually left and right, which you guys will already learn it in Bab 4. So whoever that's in my class, usual tuition class, then you all should know because we already finished with our buku catatan pertama. Yes, correct. It is system catatan teguh. So ledger will require you to make sure everything balances in terms of debit equals to credit. So that is what we do in ledger. But of course, it is based on every single item, right? So all the items will have their own positive side and their own negative side. So by the end of the month, we finish all the transaction, then we will get to see the balance of it. So what do we call balance in BM? In BM, we call them as baki. So Baki type also got two, which is Baki BB dengan Baki HB. So y'all will be learning in details soon when you come to Bab 5 later. Okay, so the Baki BB and the Baki HB got different usage. Just give you guys a little bit of preview. Baki BB is always on the first of the month, and HB is always the last date of the month. So they are a pair. Usually we will find out our HB first, only to get it as our Baki BB, because you understand that this is the last date of the month. If I found it on January 31st, then I still have them, right? Why don't I continue using it in February, isn't it? So we'll bring down into February month so that it becomes February 1st again, we will get our own Baki BB for a new month. So BB and HB is connecting one, they are a set. Okay, now to find this Baki, what is the use for it? It is actually to be used in the coming stage, which is Imbangan Duga. So Imbangan Duga is our fourth step and your Bab 6. Now this Bab 6 is extremely easy because you just need to take whatever with the Baki BB inside your ledger, come out and form a list. Okay, so how does a list look like? You just imagine name list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 until 100. All the people's name, I'm listing it out. So what? I can check who is in the class. Example like that. So Imbangan Duga is exactly the same use of, but except for writing people's name, I am writing the types of items I have in my store. So Imbangan Duga's aim is to do this. Imbang, you see? So as I said, the reason for us to do accounting is to imbang everything as well, right? So this stage is exactly the imbangan stage, okay? So how it looks like, we call it name list, right? But we don't actually put numbering by the side. We're just gonna prepare columns like this, where I will have things sitting on the debit column and the credit column. So you just follow according to your ledger here. They are connected. So all the Baki BB you found, from every single ledger, you follow their positioning. If the Baki BB is presented on the debit side, means then our number will be on the debit column. While if you found the Baki BB on the credit side, then those number will then be transported over here to the credit column. But how do we check whether it's done correctly or not? Yeah, so we have this thing called System Catatan Bergu. System Catatan Bergu is to split your jenis klasifikasi, those 5 types, which is asset, liability, equity pemilik, belanja, and hasil, 5 types, into their respective position. So asset, belanja will always sit together, while hasil, EP, dengan liability will be on the credit side. Now, of course, we also have some items with their negative version. So if you ever find them in negative version, then negative version shall sit on the credit side for asset and belanja. Negative version of hasil, EP, and liability would then be on the debit. So this is gonna be how we fill up the imbangan duga, and to make sure you get your left and right side to be balanced. Okay, so this is imbangan duga. Now, why do we bother creating imbangan duga? Yeah, it's because the list, right, will show us a clear view of how many things we have in the store. So if I just give you the buku ledger, as I say, I have 100 items. The ledger is going to be so thick. Probably the book will have like 200 pages. So if I want to find something's number, I just want to find 2 nice number. It's so difficult for me because I need to keep flipping around and find the number. But instead, if I look into imbangan duga, isn't it I can just see 29 right there and I can take the number directly. So imbangan duga, this list is meant to help you, first thing, check whether you position your item at the correct position. Second is to ease you whenever it comes to the last stage, which is when you need to prepare your report. Okay, yeah? So imbangan duga. Now, this imbangan duga is not done yet because we come to our 5th step, that's called pelarasan. Pelarasan is our chapter 8. Okay, pelarasan is our chapter 8. So what do we do in pelarasan chapter? Yeah, in pelarasan chapter, we are trying to do adjustment. Adjustment of what? Adjustment of various belanja dengan hasil. So in this stage, right, we actually seek to change the items into their correct number. So you need to understand the amount that you dibayar means you paid, or diterima, received, might not be the true value, sebenar. So in step number 5, we seek to turn all the numbers, which is the belanja and the hasil, into their true figure. Whether or not we have received or paid, I don't care. I want them to be the true value. And as of those I did not receive in time or I did not pay in time, we will have a specific position for them. So that is what we're going to learn in Bab 8. We adjust everything into their true figure. So that means what? Your imbangan tuga here is going to be having some problems, right? Because yes, you did get to balance, but now you made an adjustment. Do you still think those numbers are going to remain the same? Of course not. If I've updated them, of course my imbangan tuga also need to update. That's why step number 6 is also going to be Bab 6 imbangan tuga. Same format, just that you need to add on the word terselaras at the back of it lah. So exactly the same. Same as step 4. But updated with new figures. So as of those things that you don't do any changes to it, right? Means at this step number 5, the item did not get changed. Example, the tunai and the bank wasn't changed. So then what? You don't change them, you still copy the same number and the same name into your imbangan tuga terselaras. Because quite a lot of students would think that, oh, just because it's called terselaras, then I should be only putting those things with pelarasan. No, they still want the imbangan tuga, but with updated numbers. Okay, so that is our step number 6. Okay, now to step number 7, right? This 7 is actually quite weird because it's teaching you to do something that is obviously you have to do one. Example, like in step number 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6. Every single stage you will be doing what? A closing. But here they purposely add on a step just to remind you, hey, before we go into the last stage, please check every single one of the books. Did you manage to close them properly? If you didn't, do it now. So that's why they put it over here as step number 7. There's nothing else already. Okay, so catatan penutupan is just to ensure everything is closed properly. So closing of every single books. And now once the closing is done, then we come to our last step, that is penyata kewangan. Penyata kewangan stands for financial report. So our financial report will actually have 2 sections. The first book is meant to help you calculate your untung ataupun rugi. And as for the second report is to help you see your status. Okay, now how to check your status? You will compare 3 things, which is asset to be equals to liability plus equity per minute. So if you can tell, actually we only got 5 types of klasifikasi lah. Asset belanja, hasil EP, and liability. But here I have already used 3 of them under the status report. Report for status, financial status. Then what other things am I going to use for the untung or rugi calculation? We're going to be using hasil to minus dengan belanja. So these are their usage when it comes to penyata kewangan. So of course, where do I get all these things? Yeah, we will be referring to, sorry, I used until eraser. Okay, so we will be referring to imbangan tuga terselaras as to take the items we needed for different financial reports. Okay, so that's it for our kitaran P.Akaun. So once we're done, then the next year, we repeat the same step again. So some of them only do at the end of the year, which is penyata kewangan. But for document, buku catatan pertama, ledger, okay, these 3, we will actually be doing monthly basis because there's so many transactions every single day. If I leave it till year end to do at one shot, it's going to be so messy. That's why every month we will do the document buku catatan pertama and ledger. Only then when we have all the information done, we will continue to imbangan tuga at the end of the year, do the pelarasan, imbangan tuga terselaras, only to penyata kewangan. Okay, so that's it for our kitaran P.Akaun. So come, let's move on to page number 3. Page 3 here, I'm not going to be talking about it because I already explained to you all part by part about the gitaran perikanan. Just in case for you guys, if you will forget what I said, then you can always read back to page number 3. These are the wording form of the gitaran perikanan. Okay, all right, so come, let's go to page 4. Yeah. Now, the other subtopic of our chapter 1 is going to be sejarah perakaunan. So feels like very scary, right? Even in accounts also we need to learn sejarah. Actually, not very scary lah. It's fine, okay? This sejarah here, you just need to focus on abad ke-14. Now, of course, they wouldn't ask you about abad ke-14 like that lah. No. Just telling you this is the box you need to focus more on because their questions will all be based on here, which is number 1, the location. When did Sistem Catatan Bergu begin at? It was beginning at Venice, Italy. This is the location. And second, who is the person that created the Sistem Catatan Bergu? The person is Luca Pacioli. That is his real name. Well, we have a call. We call Luca Pacioli as a certain name. Okay, title. It's Bapak Perakaunan. So these things that I've highlighted is what they're going to come out in exam, okay? So Venice, Italy, Luca Pacioli, Bapak Perakaunan. And also, why did Luca Pacioli got discovered as Bapak Perakaunan? Is it because he just wanted to tell people, hey, I discovered Sistem Catatan Bergu? Actually, no. It's because he have published a mathematic book. Menerbitkan buku matematik, which inside this buku matematik, it contains the Sistem Catatan Bergu, which the accountants feel like is an appropriate way to do all the recordings so that every single details is recorded 2 times. You get it? So here, what else do you need to remind yourself of whenever answering for sejarah? Is maybe they might ask you about the name of the book. So if they ask you about the name of the book, maybe you can remember by these 2 center words, arithmetica and geometrica. Okay, so that is the center name of them because the full name of the book is called Summa di Arithmetica Geometrica Proportioni et Proportionalita. Okay, so which I feel like is not really that important for you to remember the whole name. So just the center few words you just recognize it will do. No need to memorize also. Okay, yeah? So they will ask you, siapakah Bapak Perakaunan? Your answer, Luca Pacioli. And what contribution did he do? You don't go and choose buku perakaunan. No. Trick. Option. Buku perakaunan. This is actually wrong. So don't pick the obvious one because I feel like many students will fall into the trap because you all are thinking, hey, I'm answering for account subject ma. Shouldn't it be a buku perakaunan that has Sistem Catatan Bergu inside? But no, okay, you're wrong. It's actually a buku maths book. Okay, yeah? So that's it for the sejarah. We just need to take note of this abad ke-14 lah. The rest, they don't really ask for. Okay, yeah? Now, coming up for the next part, which is going to be page number 5. Page 5 here is talking about badan-badan perakaunan. So how should you read for this badan-badan perakaunan? I would say you recognize by the short form will do, which is MIA, MASB, MICPA, CIMA, and also ACCA, because this is how they come out in the exam, okay? They will give you an objective question, A, B, C, D, so all of them put in short form. So how are you gonna recognize their usage? Okay, so we start from the first one, MIA. I would say you can recognize by this center alphabet, I. I stands for institute. So what does institute mean? Institute is like a school, okay? Institute is like a school. So what does school does? What does school do actually? So school teaches you. So you see, there is latihan, pelajaran, dan peperiksaan. Okay, and also what else? Okay, this one is their popular question. They usually will ask you, manakah badan-badan perakaunan yang mempromosikan dan mempopularkan profession perakaunan? Your answer is MIA. So please highlight this point. Mempromosi dan mempopularkan profession perakaunan. Will they ask us to write the full name of the badan perikanan? No, they won't. They will just ask you for which type. So you can just put MIA. Yeah, correct. Okay, so the mempromosikan dan mempopularkan profession perikanan, right, is such as like trying to promote accountant. Being an accountant is what privileges do you get and what type of job is it actually. So they teaches you some knowledges about being an accountant, so to make it popular lah among the people, so that people feel like accountant is a good job. Like how people feel like doctors are good. Why? Because they promote it well, they make it sound like doctors earn a lot, and also doctors are very knowledgeable. So it's the same thing as well. The Institute Accountant Malaysia will be in charge of doing this action. Okay, yeah. So as of the kelayakan menjadi ahli, right? Actually, they don't really like to ask about that. But I did put bolded words, so means at least you have a read lah. In case if it comes out, then you still know that it's MIA. Okay, yeah. Second one, MASB. MASB, you just recognize it by this alphabet S. S is standard. Okay, so standard means, like example, I'm telling you to be an accountant, you need to follow this rule. So it is our standard to be an accountant. So then here, the BM term for standard is piawayan. So you just need to remember piawayan for MASB. It will always mention this word. So it's either MASB will form a new piawayan baru, okay, or they will fix it, menyemak dan memperbaikikan piawayan. So it can be both lah. See whether there's a need to form a new standard or not, or is it the old one still applicable? Then we just continue using lah, just adjust a few of them to update them. But of course, sometimes they will also like to come up with questions that is a little bit different than the normal one. So if they don't want to talk about piawayan, what other terms can they mention? They can also mention garis panduan, guidelines. Okay, so that is for MASB. Let's continue to the third one. The third one, and 4, 5, they are all professional accounting body. So they are in charge of different accounting accounting groups. Okay, so say the first one, MICPA. This one here, right, they are in charge to do research and development for the profession, penyelidikan dan pembangunan dalam perikanan. So example, like why do some of the working we change? Okay, why textbook changes the way we record from year to year? Is because they realize it's no longer applicable. So then they start to research and make developments of the format or the formula. It's supposed to be this way to calculate and so on. Or maybe to make the system much more simpler than wasting your time recording again and again in a same paper, where I can just use Excel file, things like that. So MICPA is supposed to do research and development. So there's nothing else for you to remember for MICPA lah. Just remember the longest name, MICPA, is for research and development. Okay, and now for the last two, CIMA is specifically meant for management. M. Okay, so what does manage mean? Manage mean I want to be taken care of something, right? So like CIMA here, you are an accountant under management accountants. So what you do is to help manage the risk of your company. So you as an accountant inside this company, you're hired, right? Whatever risk that's about to come up, you will have to handle it for the owner. So then you need to let the owner be aware of the situation like that lah. So here, mahir dalam bidang pengurusan dan pentadbiran, administration work lah, admin, and also for your pengurusan, okay, management. Also here, yeah, perubahan semasa. That is how you're gonna answer. If let's say if they ask you for what CIMA do, you can say menangani perubahan semasa, in case if they ever ask. But if they don't, they come out an objective question, then most probably they just write menangani perubahan semasa. Manakah badan profesional perikanan yang membuat begitu? So your answer is CIMA. Okay, and as for the last one, ACCA, right? ACCA is actually a course lah, okay, but they are a body actually. Okay, they are a group of people. So this ACCA, they are they produce papers for you to sit, and as long as you can pass their papers, you will be qualified as a professional accountant. So usually in Malaysia lah, okay, the recognized professional paper for accountants is ACCA. So if you want to be an accountant and you want to earn a lot of money, right, then ACCA usually is required to do so. Because if you don't take ACCA, you just graduate from degree, your salary would be the same as any other accountant that starts with the basic, which is about 2,000 ringgit like that, or 3,000. That's the maximum. I think if you graduate from degree, right, your salary can be basic by 2,000 to 2,005. But as long as you graduated with ACCA, then you should get your basic pay to be 3,000 or above, can be higher. So they take all these people in when they have the certificate of ACCA lah, okay? So they are actually an institute. So they will have to receive pelajar. So it's kind of like membership program like that. If you want to take for the ACCA paper, you need to pay membership fees. And every year you need to renew. If you don't renew, then you cannot take their exam papers. Then of course, at the same time, if you are able to qualify, then you still need to renew your membership. It's like a group of people like that. It's like a club. Your what do we call it? Like in your school, you have co-curriculum, right? So like a club like that. So you pay for membership fee. Okay. Now ACCA does this. They give sokongan kepada ahli dan pelajarnya, and also they will teach you about all the rules and regulation in accountancy. Okay, yeah. So that's it for your badan P.Akaun. So you all need to recognize the usage of them. So all these that I've highlighted is usually what they ask for in objective questions. Okay, so let's move on to page number 6. Page 6, this is the last part of our bab 1 already. That's it that I want to cover for chapter 1. Important, very, very important. So we call this Undyan, Prinsip, dan Batasan. So I'm so sorry over here because in my Mandarin session only I realized I forgot to put the name of the jenis batasan. It is actually called kos manfaat. Okay, so many students actually told me they missed out this class for chapter 1 because I only use 1 week in my tuition class, and they don't understand what their school teacher is talking about at this section, and they also don't know how to answer during the exam. So I'm gonna give you guys some example here. Okay, you guys can see every one of them have some contoh, right? So the first one is called Undyan. By the way, I would like you guys to list out like this, yeah? Undyan, comma, prinsip, comma, dan batasan. These are not your answer. Are not the answers that the question wants. Okay, so means what? You actually cannot answer Undyan, prinsip, batasan. But when they ask for Undyan, you need to give them, is it entity berasingan? Is it wang sebagai ukuran? Is it usaha berterusan or tempo perakaunan? These are the types you have to mention. So don't think that it's so easy. They say berikan Undyan, prinsip dan batasan. Then you all fall into the trap thinking that, oh, I can answer Undyan, I can answer prinsip or batasan. No. You're not allowed to do so. If you do that, you're going to get 0 marks for your part there, okay? And usually this one, they come out in a subjective question. So means not for the objective lah. You all know that your first exam is going to be a combined paper of paper 1 and paper 2. So you will have about 20 questions objective, and the rest is going to be under subjective question, paper 2 already. So usually this one likes to come out in subjective, means you have to remember what's the name and to write out by yourself. So the first one is called entity berasingan. Entity means different people. Example, or different item. Example, me and my mom. We both are not the same person. We have a different name, and I am my own entity. She is her own entity. So that is the meaning of entity. And as I said, berasingan. Here you see the word asing, right? Asing stands for split. So I want to split what? Between the owner, pemilik, and the shop, perniagaan. Now, why do I want to split? Not that I'm not allowing the pemilik to come into the shop, but instead we're talking about the urus niaga, the transaction or any actions done by the pemilik for his personal use. If it's personal, we will ask him to record himself. That is not part of my job. I am an accountant that works for your shop. So if the transaction is done within the shop or related to anything of the shop, then yes, I will do the recording for you. But if it's of a personal use and nothing related to the shop, should we record it into any of our buku? Answer is no. So can you see? Urus niaga pemilik tidak akan direkod dalam buku perniagaan. So what type of questions they usually come up with? Contoh, pemilik mengambil meja dari perniagaan. Dan ini telah direkod dalam buku perniagaan. Okay, so this is what we call entity berasingan. It is the correct way to do it. Why? Because first, you see the sentence at the beginning. It says, pemilik mengambil meja dari perniagaan. Isn't it now is no longer just personal use anymore? It is from the shop that he took out for his personal use. So it affects perniagaan. Yes, that's why telah direkod dalam buku perniagaan is the right way to do. But if I said, pemilik mengambil meja dari rumahnya, full stop. What does it have to do with our shop, isn't it? If it's all his personal, I take the meja from my house to my cousin's house. Nothing to do with the shop, so we wouldn't record it inside our buku perniagaan. So therefore, this is the contoh soalan they would like to come up with. And also you will notice, every time entity berasingan question, they will use the word pemilik one. Because that is the only situation, and mengambil ataupun membawa masuk that we will have entity berasingan. So you aware lah of mengambil or bawa masuk. Yeah, so you see these two words. If you see them, then entity berasingan. Okay, continue to the second one. Second one is wang sebagai ukuran. Ukuran means as our calculation lah. How do we record everything? We record them in nilai mata wang, RM. So you remember the beginning, right? I told you guys that our entire account syllabus is going to be using RM for every single thing, every recording, including if I buy food. Would I tell you I bought one ice cream cone? No, I would tell you, oh, the ice cream cone costs me 2 ringgit. 2 ringgit. That's what I'm going to record. So wang sebagai ukuran means that we record everything gunakan wang sebagai unit ukuran. Okay, so this one rarely comes out, but if you see the kata kunci is wang or they say unit ukuran, then that is gonna be wang sebagai ukuran. You do not be scared about other currencies because we're in Malaysia. And this account that we're talking about is also based on Malaysia. That's why we only see RM. Okay, continue to the third one. Usaha berterusan. Keyword terus. Okay, keyword is terus. Terus means what? Continue. And when I mix it with the word usaha, usaha stands for effort, right? Continuous effort. For what? For the shop to continue growing or continue operating, right? So usaha berterusan will show, you will choose this if whenever they talk about terus beroperasi. And of course, I'm not going to be expecting when to stop, but I'll tell you, I'll just keep going on until the day where we cannot tahan anymore. Then we stop the shop but then our aim is going to be further than a year. So bagi masa yang berlanjutan, continuously until no dead end. I don't know when it's going to end at, and beroperasi lebih daripada 1 tahun. So means I don't aim to close my shop within a year time lah. Okay, so berterusan. Continue to the fourth one, which is the last type of Undyan Perekanan. That's called tempo perekanan. Tempo stands for a period of time, certain period of time. So I'll give you a date, okay, to be exact, tarikh, date. Example, okay, if the question tells you that we do our laporan kewangan pada 1st January hingga 31st December, that is tempo kewangan. Because whenever we say laporan kewangan follows this date, right, means inside the report, it wouldn't include anything of 2019 or even 2017. If it's 2018, means the whole year. 12 months, only 2018 stuff will be recorded inside. Now, of course, some of the shop would also prefer to record much more in a higher frequency. So they use suku tahun or setengah tahun. So setahun, setengah tahun, suku tahun is 3 types of period. So setahun means 1 year. 1 year stands for 12 months. Okay, now for setengah tahun means half of the year, right? Half of the year means 6 months. Means 6 months. And as for suku tahun is quarter of the year. If it's quarter, means stands for 3 months. So that is the frequency of how many reports we're gonna prepare. Okay. So if I say every 6 months I prepare 1 time, means in a year I'm gonna have 2 reports at least. But if my frequency is every 3 months, means that what? How many reports are you gonna get? If every 3 months I do, 1 year got 12 months. I'm gonna be preparing 4 reports in total. Yes, correct. So that is tempo perekanan. But guys, nobody ever do suku tahun one. It's too crazy already because so many reports is gonna make me very messy. So usually people will opt for either setengah tahun or setahun lah. So the popular one is setahun. Okay, all right. So let's move on. Now, Undyan finished already. What is the meaning of Undyan? Undyan stands for expectations. This is what I expect to achieve. So I want to be having my own tempo perekanan and to make sure everything follows according to the date. And I also want to continue with my shop for more than a year. But all these are just an expectations. If I really cannot go with it, means I couldn't continue with my shop for a year. I end up closing the shop. Is there anything wrong with it? No, not every single shop has to follow the same way. You get it? So as for the coming up one, that's called prinsip. Prinsip, then you cannot change already. Everybody is the same. It's kind of like a rule like that. A principle, okay? In English, it's principle. So we follow it. Principle rules, same one, okay? So every single shop, every single accountant that does these reports must follow according to prinsip perekanan. The first one is called ketekalan. Ketekalan, tekal stands for consistent. I want to be doing the same thing again and again and again under the same procedures. Kaedah yang sama. That is going to be your keyword for you to answer ketekalan. So if you ever see kaedah yang sama, no doubt that's going to be tekal. Okay, ketekalan. But why do we need to use the same procedures for every single year? It's because we want to compare our reports from the previous year to the current year. If I don't use the same method, isn't it will cause the reports to unable to be compared? So then, yeah, what's the point of preparing it every single year then if I want to change the method? So kaedah yang sama stands for ketekalan. So to avoid confusion. Okay, so let's continue to prinsip cost. Prinsip cost, I want to just in advance talk about this. It's gonna relate to our asset bukan semasa only. Now in here, the cost stands for harga asal. Ori price. Is that okay? So all our asset bukan semasa, which is the valuables in long-term usage. Example, my phone is a type of ABS. My iPad is a type of ABS. My house also ABS. Car also ABS. These are for long-term usage. And when I first bought it, I will spend a huge sum of money, right? And that price itself is gonna be known as the cost. And as we want to record, we wouldn't want to change the cost price. So every single year, we want to retain it as the same one. You see, membeli kenderaan yang bernilai 50,000 pada 3 tahun lepas. It was 3 years ago. I bought it with 50,000. Walaupun nilai kenderaan sudah turun ke 35,000, tetapi masih direkod 50,000 dalam buku perakaunan. Sorry, I keep push until the screen. Okay, so when they see like this, right, means what? Means that even though the current value of the car is already 35,000, do I bother? I don't bother. I will remain it as 50,000. Why? Because if you don't keep track of the cost, how are you gonna be able to tell how much you spend in the beginning when you bought it? And how are you going to know whether you rugi or you untung from the sale of the ABS? So I would say the main point of keeping the cost, right, is because when people ask you, hey, how much you bought your phone with 2 years ago, you bought 3,000 ringgit. Would you tell them, oh, my phone, I bought it 1,000 ringgit because now it's 1,000? No, I will tell them I bought it with 3,000. So we follow according to the amount you spend when you initially gotten it. So this is how the exam question will look like when they want to ask for principal cost. They will give you the ori price, and after a few years, what is the revised price, the new one? Only then to say the pemilik chooses to record 50,000 again. Okay, yeah. And now for the last prinsip perakaunan is called pengiktirafan. Pengiktirafan hasil dan belanja. Pengiktirafan in English is recognition. Okay, so I believe you guys know what is recognize, right? I want to recognize my hasil and belanja as their own true figure. So instead of having them as the amount I received or I paid, it's not quite accurate. Maybe I tell you, your monthly figure for rental is supposed to be 500 ringgit. That will last you for 12 months every year, right? So you are supposed to pay a 6,000. But this year, you only managed to pay 5,700. There's a 300 ringgit that you told the owner that, oh, I will delay a bit. Can I pay you by next month? So then the owner will tell you, okay, then you pay me next month. But guys, you see, the 300 ringgit that I promised to pay next month is not meant for the coming year, isn't it? So I was supposed to pay everything on December to pay finish 6,000. But there's a 300 I failed to pay. I said I will pay it on next year, January. But in fact, can you guys tell me this 300 ringgit is meant for which year? This is 19. We are currently in 2018. Isn't it this 300 ringgit is supposed to be meant for 2018? So however also, even if you're paying in the future, but the money is meant to be spent when? That year itself, then we have to recognize it. That's why in pengiktirafan hasil dan belanja, whatever you fail to pay or you fail to receive, or even you pay in advance, you receive in advance, we will have to adjust them to their true figure. So can you see here? Sebenar. Memperolehi untung atau rugi yang sebenar. So you see the example. Commission telah, sorry, spelling error, this is L. Okay, commission telah diterima is 5,000. So I have received 5,000. But is this a true figure? Now the question told you that no, it's not the true figure because you actually still have 1,003 yet to receive. So why do we call it yet to receive? Isn't it? It's because of this year. You are supposed to receive it this year, but you have yet to receive. Makes sense, right? The logic. But if it's meant for the next year, will I say it's yet to receive? It's no lah. There's next year's receiving amount. So then that's why it proves that this 1,003 is meant for the year. So isn't it? I should consider it as a part of my hasil as well. It's just that I haven't gotten the money exactly. But still, under the hasil recording, I should turn them into their sebenar. So to record it, we will take the 5,000 to combine with the belum terima of 1,300 to make it actually 6,300. So this one here, right, is actually what you learn in Form 4 Bab 8. You will be learning about it soon on how to do the adjustment. But just a heads up telling you guys, belum terima is meaning you receive lesser than what you're supposed to. So if it's less, how do we adjust it back? We will plus so that it got back to the true figure. This is what we do in pengiktirafan hasil dan belanja. So if you want to easily sense that it is pengiktirafan hasil dan belanja, you can look out for words such as diterima, commission, and so on like this. The jenis hasil and belanja we have lah. Okay, all right. And now to the last one already. Last one is batasan perakaunan. Batasan perakaunan means challenge. Oh my God, sorry. Okay, batasan stands for challenge that we might face. So challenge that we might face is what? Cost manfaat. Manfaat means beneficial. Okay, so English we call it beneficial cost. We are trying to face this challenge, which to make sure our cost is beneficial to our shop. So what does it mean? Means that when we can lower down our costs, now this cost here doesn't stand for the original price, yeah. Cost can have many meanings. If you're talking about asset bukan semasa, prinsip cost, that is the original price. But if we're talking about cost here, this cost is standing for expenses. Is that okay? So the cost here is talking about expenses, yeah. So when your cost is low, your untung is going to be higher, the amount you earn. Okay, so how to achieve this actually is by choosing the better alternatives. So usually cost manfaat, they will give you two types of choices. So they will, contoh soalan, two choices. Pemilik picked one of it. That is how usually cost manfaat question is being out for. So they will tell you, oh, maybe now the pemilik have extra cash. So he is deciding whether to start a new branch at maybe Puchong, okay, or to expand the current shop in USJ 9, example. Okay, so USJ 9 is expand and Puchong is a new branch. So means take up a new shop lah and new market there. So then in the end, the boss have decided that he wants to open a new shop in Puchong. So that is what we call cost manfaat. Now, we have in no place to judge why he chose the new branch, but rather you can understand it this way. Maybe it's because after considering, the boss realized that opening a new branch means you score a new market, and whoever that's in Puchong, they will be easily accessible to the shop there, rather than they have to come into USJ where, yeah, we expanded the shop. So people need to purposely travel over here. But if we open in Puchong, people in Puchong can come to our shop instead of traveling to USJ. So it is a better cost that brings us more return. So it may not be the lowest option, of course, but it will help us in increasing our earnings. So that is called cost manfaat. Okay, so we already finished with whatever important parts of Bab 1, yeah? So the remaining parts that I did not cover, you all can always read your textbook for them lah. But those, you don't need to memorize all lah. Just roughly read through, then can already. Okay, so now we finish with Bab 1. Let's move on to Bab 2, that is page 7. So now we're 5:28. We still have 1 more hour to go for us to finish the Bab 2. But I would say, if in class or in your school sessions, you weren't paying attention much on your Bab 2, today is the time for you to pay attention already. If you don't pay attention now, you're gonna be regretting when you go up to Form 5, because this basic is very, very important. If you don't understand it here, you cannot do your Form 4 chapters as well. So yeah, that's why I said importance. Okay, so here we have 3 sections of Bab 2. Number 1 is to first learn about the jenis klasifikasi account. So klasifikasi stands for asset, liability, equity pemilik, hasil, and belanja, which is earlier on I did say they are the classes of items we have, different types of items that we slot into categories. And as for the second section of your bab 2, that is gonna cover dua jenis penyata kewangan. By the way, this penyata kewangan is part of bab 7, but they push it forward to chapter 2 because some of the school teachers will actually want to come out in exam testing you guys about the format. But today, right, it's impossible for us to do this because it's too long already. So if you think your exam is going to come up, then my only advice is you got to memorize the format for this one, account perdagangan dan untung rugi. That is your only choice already. But usually first term exam, they ask for persamaan, perakaunan, and jenis klasifikasi lah. Okay, so persamaan perakaunan will have this rumus: asset equals to liability plus EP. So let me kind of tell you guys first what are their relationship with each other. Yeah, equity pemilik, right? This is where we record all the contributions and also transactions done by the pemilik. Example, mengambil, we call that ambilan. Membawa masuk, we call that modal. So the beginning of every business will start from EP. Example, if now I'm the owner, I brought in 50,000 worth of items into the store. Now, this 50,000 worth of items is different types. The first one is I put 20,000 into bank. Okay, sorry, I should put like this. Bank. Okay, and I feel like for our shop, we also need a place. Okay, so I decided to buy a place instead of renting. So I call that premise. But the place is pretty cheap. It's about 10,000 only. The person sold to me. So maybe it's a very small room that we use. Okay, premise. And then within the 50,000, I still have left 20,000, right? Because I already put 30,000 here. So I decided that I want to spend money on buying some furnitures. So we call that perabot. About 5,000. Buy some computers and printers, we call that alatan pejabat. That costs me also 5,000. So far, I still have a 10,000 left, right? So here I said, probably I will need a car. If I don't have transportation, it's hard for me to deliver the stuff to my buyer. So then I spend the last 10,000 from the 50,000 to the kenderaan. So total, you see, all that I brought in is going to contribute to different types of asset. EP here is only a recording of how much I brought in, but it's not actually where I store the money. When I use the money for different purpose in the store, I will record them accordingly to their names. So I put in bank, 20,000. I put in premise, 10,000. So total here, 50,000. Okay, now liability. When does liability come out? Liability is not contributed by the pemilik, but is borrowed by the pemilik. The owner will have to go to the bank and apply for a loan. So this loan can be any amount, depends on the pemilik. So I feel like now 50,000 is really so little. So I decided to borrow the 20,000. So I borrowed the 20,000 and this money will go into where? The money will go into the bank. But I decided that no, I don't want to put it into my bank. Instead, I want to spend it on buying in all my barang niaga, which I call it inventory. And that is all for my shop. Asset equals to liability plus EP. Can you see that asset doesn't come by itself? It's always contributed by what? EP first, very important. Only then we consider taking liability in. Okay, so that is for persamaan perakaunan. Now here, let's talk about the klasifikasi and their details. So what is very important, I say, is especially this, asset bukan semasa. So please write down, asset is your harta, your valuables. Okay, asset is your harta, is your valuables. So we have two types of asset, two types of valuable. The first type is called asset bukan semasa. So asset bukan semasa is usually item 4, barangan. Okay, they are to be used, not to be spent on buying things. Okay, so they are not money form lah, to be clear with that. So you bought them, okay, with money, of course, in exchange, but your money you didn't lose your money. Okay, you're just changing money into an item form which you can keep for a long period of time. So that is what we call asset bukan semasa. While asset semasa is money form. Asset semasa is money form. So depending on their name, right, you can see bukan semasa means not for temporary. So if it's not for temporary, we intended to use it for a long-term period. So what is it that we consider as long period of time? So that would be more than 12 months. Okay, or more than 1 year. So both also acceptable because 1 year is 12 months, right? So see which one you prefer to look for. So asset bukan semasa, we will use them for more than 12 months, more than 1 year. And usually their prices are not cheap. They are considered expensive, okay? And continue to asset semasa. Asset semasa is for short-term usage. So their usage period is going to be less than 12 months time or less than a year. Now, it's not that we wanted to throw this away, but instead, asset semasa's value is not going to remain the same within the 12 months time. There's a lot of fluctuations happen between that. Many plus, many minus happen throughout the year. So we cannot maintain it as the same. That's why we call it semasa. But as for asset bukan semasa, we will record them all according to what? This. The cost price, which is our nilai asal, original price of the item. If you can recall, I just mentioned about principal cost earlier, that is only going to be applicable to asset bukan semasa. So every single type of contoh you see here, you have to memorize. If you don't memorize, you will not be able to answer for your exams because they will need you to change them into proper names. Okay, so like asset semasa have high kecairan. Yes, correct. They are very liquid. Okay, they changes very quickly, so they can plus, they can minus. It's not that they are little, but their value is not fixed the same. Yeah, they always come in and go out like that. Correct. Come, so we continue. Yeah. So asset bukan semasa you need to memorize because the names are the ones you need to use. So we start from the first one. Total, yeah, there is 7 types of ABS. The first one is called kenderaan. So what is kenderaan stands for? Kenderaan is all types of vehicles. Is that okay? So vehicles can range from any lah, like example van, lorry, kereta. You say taxi, you say bus. You want to say motorcycle, bicycle also can. But of course, you want to ask me whether there's airplane or not. Don't have lah, okay? Because we're not Air Asia, we're talking about normal shop. So we don't use plane. But cars such as van, lorry, these are very normal because like TTC also we do have van as our asset bukan semasa. So we use that to transport our students from their house to our tuition center. Okay, so that is kenderaan. Second one, lengkapan. Lengkapan in English is called fixtures. So they are fixed at a certain position and usually we don't change them anymore lah. Like example, what type of things we put under lengkapan, yeah? Example, lampu, kipas, and hawa dingin. Now, I decided to write it as hawa dingin because there is 2 ways of spelling it. Penghawa dingin or pendingin hawa. So both is the same, guys. So you just remember I say hawa dingin. Any of the pairing of dingin hawa or hawa dingin also can. It is meaning as air conditioner, correct? Aircon. Alright, yeah? So lampu, kipas, penghawa dingin. These 3 is under lengkapan. Nothing else. So guys, just be aware that they like to add on a few words behind it, like lampu pejabat. Do not focus on the pejabat word, okay? No, because no matter where I put the lampu, lampu is lengkapan. The key point is on the lampu, not on the pejabat, you see. Then why do they bother writing pejabat? Because they want to let you know that this is related to the shop our shop can also be known as the office. Is it okay? So no matter where they position your lampu, as long as it begins from lampu, then you put under lengkapan. Okay, all right, we continue to perabot. Perabot is your furnitures. So the basic ones I don't write lah, like major kerusi, you all know is furnitures, right? But usually they would also come up with other types, which is such as almari, rak. These are perabot as well. Almari ataupun rak. Almari means your cupboard, and rak is those rack you see that people put things on top of it. So it's a piece of wood or something like that. Yeah, so almari or rak, perabot. Then we continue to alatan pejabat. Is lampu meja lengkapan or perabot? Lampu meja is not meja, right? It's talking about table lamp. So it's still lamp. So lamp, lengkapan. Yeah, as long as the key point is lampu. It's not the major, right? If it's major, they could have just say major. But why they want to add on the lampu? Because the focus on lampu. So lampu is lengkapan. Yes. So as I say, don't focus on where they put it, but focus on what is the item they're talking about. So lampu ma, I put on the major, but still lampu. Okay. All right. So we continue. Same thing goes to this furniture here. Be aware because quite a lot of students confuse these three things together. Okay, the lengkapan until the alatan pejabat. Because alatan pejabat here stands for office equipments. Now, when I say it's office equipments, means that it's not going to be the tables and the chairs out, because tables, chairs doesn't only use in the office, isn't it? I can put in my house also, ma. So, but office equipments, usually to work, we need computer, we need phone, we also need a keyboard, we need a printer, a photostat machine. These are office equipments. So if I say major pejabat, is it perabot or is it alatan pejabat? If I say major pejabat, is it a perabot or is it an alatan pejabat? So this is going to be the same concept like just now you guys asked me, lampu major, right? What is the key point? Lampu. Here, major pejabat. Which one is key point? Pejabat. No ma. Key point is major. So major is under perabot. That is right. Okay, so be very careful because they always trick you guys like this one. Okay, so alatan pejabat we have such as computer, to help you with works in office. Okay, so computer, we will also need a machine pencetak, which is printer in VM, or even photostat machine photostat, same thing lah. Okay, all right, so this is alatan pejabat. Now for premise stands for a location, a place that you have your business at. A place. Okay, example, kedai, bangunan. Is that okay? So sometimes they also might say tanah. So if you see tanah, you change it into premise. But this premise word, they like to come out by themselves. Means just write premise for you. Then you follow lah. No need to change anymore. Okay. So don't you change premise into kedai. No. Premise is the main word. Okay. So now the last two, machine and jentera. Now machine and jentera, right? These two are the same thing. They are both machines, but difference on what? The size. Jentera is much more bigger in size than machine, and also because it's heavy machinery, you need someone to actually control it. Okay, example what? Example, a crane. Okay, you ever see in KL, right? They have those construction sites where you know how condo is built. Actually, condo is built by using the cranes. Okay, so they will actually do like Jenga like that. Okay, a piece of the building. Okay, they do concrete first, concrete work at the ground. So they do. Okay, the whole piece is done already. Then they will use the crane to lock it and then pull it upwards and then stack them together. So one layer by layer, they use the crane. Okay, so that is what we call jentera. They are heavy machinery. You need people to control it, drive it. So jentera, they don't change name one. So don't worry about the journeys that they will ask you. Just remember jentera is under asset bukan semasa will do. Okay, and as for machine, right? Machine is going to be small types. So they are very portable. You can move them anywhere. Not machine pencetak though. Okay, now why? The difference is this machine we will use to produce product. Example, we put them in the factory. But machine pencetak, we don't put them in the factory. We put them in the office so that we can print something out, print the receipt for our customers. So even though it has the word machine, it doesn't mean you put them under the name of machine, yeah. Okay, so this one no changes of name, but if they ever want to come up with the contoh, it can be machine jahitan. Okay, so we already finished the 7 types of asset bukan semasa. Now we're going to continue to asset semasa. I think the only part I will waste more time on is this two lah, because asset is really so important. Every single question also can have up to 5, 6 asset bukan semasa AS, so you need to really know about it. Okay, so asset semasa, we got 6 types. Now, the first one is called inventory account. So earlier in my Mandarin session, there were people asking me, teacher, why must the inventory be written account at the back of it? Do you guys have any idea about it? So just give you guys an explanation of inventory first. Inventory stands for your product. Means the things that you sell in your store. Can understand? So if I open kedai kasut, then what is my inventory? Kasut is my inventory, the product that we sell. And why must there be an accurate word at the back? Only I can categorize it under asset semasa. Now, guys, what does accurate mean? Accurate stands for what? Okay, yes, last or end. Okay, same one, okay? So it is the last of our product in that year itself. So meaning to say we didn't get to sell them, isn't it? It's still with us. Now, meanwhile, for the rest of the other types of inventory, means inventory awal, let's say. Awal is on the beginning of the year. So, of course, old stocks versus new stocks. Which one would you want to sell them first, as soon as possible? Of course, you want to sell away all those old stocks first, right? So why would I keep the inventory awal until the year end where we start to calculate asset semasa? That's why if you wanted to find out your asset semasa, you always take inventory account. Okay, now but in Bab 2, right, we will do the adjustment throughout the month lah. So whenever you buy, you plus, whenever you sell, you will minus from inventory first. And at the ending of it, we will find out the final figure, right? That we call it as inventory account. Okay, so let's move on to the second one. Account belum terima. When does this happen? You guys write down, yeah? It is actually indicating a person. Account belum terima can also be known as ABT. ABT is which person? Just write down. Your customers. Customers, okay, many customers. So why would a customers be called as account belum terima? Haven't received. There's only one possibility, which is that we have sold to them, jual, but we don't receive money from them. But what is that type of transaction we call? That transaction, we call it as secara credit. Okay, so guys, secara credit doesn't mean the left and the right that I was talking about earlier. Okay, the credit can be used many places. But when we say secara credit, it meant as hutang. It's a debt. So I allow the customers to take the stocks first, so they get the product from me, but they don't pay on the spot. They will pay me only after a few months. So that is what I allow them. But of course, not every single customers I will allow solar. Usually, I would need to understand their motive first. Why do you need to buy from me secara credit? If you don't have money, then don't buy lah. Now, of course, I need to understand the situation. If they tell me that this is a win-win situation, I am now being their supplier, so they want to get stocks from me. After that, they return us in bulk. Then we find it potential. We can keep this relationship, as in every month they will constantly get stocks from me. Then isn't it good for us to give them a chance to try out this transaction method, which is secara credit? So it doesn't involve any money at all while we handle this product over to them. So we will have to wait lah very patiently, or even to remind them to pay their hutang. So this is called account belum terima. So if you ever get confused about ABT and this one, ABB, you always ask yourself, as a seller, if you sell, should you receive or should you pay? Then you would have your answer already. So you should be the person receiving. That's why, have you received? Not yet. We call those people as account belum terima. Now for account belum bayar is when we happen to have beli secara kredit. Again, secara kredit means you don't pay. You will be temporarily having a debt with this person. But who is this person we're talking about? This person we're talking about is your supplier. The people who you get stocks from. Okay, yeah. So same lah. You buy things but now they allow you to pay a few months later. So now you have not paid them. Of course, you have to record it down. Otherwise, how are you gonna know how much to pay them later on, right? So we will put them all into account belum bayar. So we have two types of persons here in our syllabus, but just two. ABT is customers that haven't paid, and ABB is suppliers that we haven't paid them. Okay, so we are done with the ABT and ABB lah, meantime. So we continue to deposit and pelaburan. This one doesn't really come out in much of our exams, but maybe the first exam they will ask lah, since only chapter 1, chapter 2, okay? So deposit, right, is the sum of money that you pay to the person to guarantee of something. Now, of course, this deposit, right, is supposed to be able to get back. So like example, if now I want to rent a house, the house owner would tell me that, hey, you have to pay a deposit of 3 months. If you cannot do that, I will not rent the house to you. So why do the owner wants to receive 3 months of deposit payment from me? Because number one, if I rent their house and I decided to spoil the things inside, or even if I decided to run away and stop paying the rental, at least the owner still have 3 months rental for compensation, right? So it's a guarantee for the person, for the shop or the house owner. But if let's say I rent the house, I rent the shop properly until the contract ends and I decided to withdraw from the house, then the deposit should be claimable. So it must be mine again. No? That's why we put them under asset semasa, because we expect to be getting it back. So be aware that this deposit is us. We are paying the deposit. But we can get it back. So that's why asset semasa. Okay, now for pelaburan and bank. Pelaburan stands for investment now, but not very significant in our syllabus. They don't really talk much about the investment. So you just be aware that investment under asset semasa because it is your money, isn't it? And nowadays, people do investment in a very fast pace. No longer have people throw money there for a few years, only take out one. Now people just put a month or two, then they see the price is higher, they take it back out. So like us here, the pelaburan is taking a bit of money and put into the investment. Then once we see the chance, we sell it and take back the money. So that's why we put them under AS. Okay, yeah. And the last two, bank and tunai, is our method to receive or pay money. Okay, the two methods, yeah, bank or tunai. So when do we use bank? Whenever they mention the word check. Okay, whenever we mention the word check. And if they say tunai, do you still need to change? Answer is no need lah, just tunai will do lah, isn't it? So you see lah, if I buy things and I use check, then bank is gonna deduct. But if I receive money through check, bank is gonna increase. So that is how you know when to use bank, if they say check. Okay, so we're done with all the assets already. Any questions so far? If you guys have no questions, then I'll just quickly end the Liability EP hasil belanja. Then we can go to our actual persamaan P.Akaun already. Okay, now for liability, any questions, you all type it at the chat, okay? I will reply you as long as I see it. Okay, so liability bukan semasa and liability semasa. So write down, liability stands for debt. Hutang. But we have two types, also bukan semasa and semasa. So if it's bukan semasa, means the debt will actually be given more than 12 months to pay. More than 1 year. So we're not in rush. We pay slowly by monthly basis. It's like an installment like that. Example, car loan, house loan, all this, we pay installment. So once we finish paying it, then the loan is finished. The houses are mine or the car is mine. Example like that. So liability bukan semasa, also known as LBS as the short form. We have two types of contoh. The first one is called pinjaman bank and the second one is gadai janji. So I would say LBS is more like borrowing. Okay, borrowings. Okay, in fact, you terbalikkan, as in borrowing is the English term, right? The BM term of borrowings is called pinjaman. By the way, I put this word bank here, but I want to clarify. No matter they write the word bank or they don't put the word bank, or they put the word bank, they are the same thing. Pinjaman equals to pinjaman bank. Is that all right? All comes from the bank. I borrow from the bank. Gadai janji also comes from the bank. But what is the difference between the two types of borrowings? Pinjaman bank have no any rules, okay? I don't need to give them things in return. But gadai janji is like mortgage. So you need to give them something in return. So as a guarantee that if you cannot pay back, then they will not rugi from this transaction. So pinjaman bank just sign and borrow money, that's all. You don't need to give them any valuables. But gadai janji, you need to promise. Do you see? Janji. Promise. So the bank will actually ask you, bank will need you to have a valuable in exchange of the borrowing. Okay. So example, okay, I have a house. This is what I call a property that is worth 500,000. Okay, and now I want to go to the bank and borrow. Let's say 480,000. And of course, it must be lesser than my property value, because they don't do some rugi job, right? Okay. So now the bank said, okay, you want to borrow 480,000? Can, but do you have any valuables? That I told them. Actually, yes, I do have a property of 500,000, which is under my name, and I already fully paid for it. But I couldn't change this 500,000 into cash form in a short period of time because to sell a house is not that simple. Someone you need to find for potential buyer, you need to sign agreement, find lawyer, there's a lot of fees there, you see. I already don't have the cash. How could I even go with the process of selling my property? That's why I opt for this option to go for gadai janji. So I want to turn my property into temporary cash. So when I finish borrowing the money, 480,000, I use for whatever purpose already got the money back, and I'm going to return back to the bank. So as I do so, bank will give the rights of the property back to me. So it's just like temporarily, the bank will be in charge of my property. If in any case I cannot pay back within the stipulated time, so maybe I said promise to be 5 years, cannot pay, then bank will lelongkan my house. Do you all ever heard the word lelong before? How does lelong work? Actually, it's like bidding like that. So they will take your property and they put it online, okay, on a bidding website. So whoever that's wants to buy this house, they will go to the website and start bidding for the house. So maybe the house will be priced at even lower than 500,000, about 100,000 to start from. This is called lelong. Your house is going to be sold at such a cheap price, like no value one. So it's at 100,000. Let's start people bidding. So I said a bid for 150,000. People bid 200,000, 400,000, 600,000. Slowly go up until nobody bid already. Then the house is going to be officially by other people. So this is how gadai janji work. You need to exchange them with something valuable, which usually is property that they look for. Okay, yeah. So pinjaman, no need for exchanges. Okay, now for liability semasa, less than 12 months, or less than 1 year. So less than 12 months or less than 1 year. Here we have one more that I haven't talked about, which is the overdraft bank lah. So here, right, liability semasa is more of like owe. Okay, you owe someone. So overdraft bank, you are owing to the bank. So when does overdraft bank happens? Is when your bank account have no more balance. Instead, it becomes negative. So means I'm spending more than what I have. Example, my bank account only have 5,000 and I'm now spending a 6,000. You see what will happen inside my bank account? It will become negative 1,000 ringgit. Of course, why do bank allow me to spend more than what I have? Isn't it weird? Because the 1,000 doesn't belong to me, ma. That is when bank comes and offer you. Do you want to apply for overdraft bank service? So this is quite flexible, I would say, because unlike pinjaman bank give you one lump sum, means you have to decide how much you want to borrow in the beginning. But overdraft bank is go by monthly basis. So they give you a quota. Example, the quota is 5,000. Every month, you can spend more than your own balance of 5,000 ringgit. So you notice just now I say 5,000 minus 6,000. Why is it still written in 1,000? Because this is the quota that they allowed you, but doesn't mean that it is your own money. Of course, they have to present it in a negative form, so then you know you are actually owing to the bank. It's a little bit like credit card, but except that this transaction is done through debit card or a savings account, so through check lah. Okay, so they allow you your bank account to do that. So if you feel like temporary, you need a few extra quota for the few months, then you can apply for it. Now, once you decided not to use it anymore, you can just go to the bank and cancel the service. So that's why I say it's much more flexible than pinjaman bank. Okay, yeah. So overdraft bank is when your bank account becomes negative, you overspent. Okay, now to the last one, equity per milik. Equity per milik is going to have only three things: modal, untung bersih, and ambilan. So the relationship is actually, remember, your per milik and the shop. Okay, per milik and the shop. So to start the shop, your per milik have to begin from bawa masuk. So if you ever see the word bawa masuk, it is meant as modal. And it is going to be in positive value. Because when we record equity per milik, right, it stands for hutang perniagaan kepada pemilik. Why? Because do you think this money is belong to the shop? No, ma. The money is actually from pemilik. So the money belongs to pemilik means shop would temporarily keep hold of it. So it's a hutang perniagaan terhadap pemilik. Eventually, we have to return back to the shop owner. So modal increases it. But as my pemilik decided to take out for his own use, out. Okay, now we call this ambilan. But how you know whether it's ambilan or not? Yeah, you need to look for this keyword. Kegunaan sendiri means personal use. If the reason for your pemilik to take out the money or any items within the company is for his own use, this will be considered as kegunaan sendiri. And can you see that I'm putting a symbol by the side of the ambilan? Why? Because when he brought in, his contribution increases. But when he takes out, do you think it will increase the contribution? No, it will make the contribution lesser. That's why we put negative symbol. Okay, yeah. So that it's gonna branch out to the next part where you must understand your ambilan as this type. It is a type of negative EP. So later it applies to your table lah. Okay. Right now, untung or rugi bersih is actually found out by having hasil to tolak belanja. So therefore, in chapter 2, persamaan perakaunan, untung ataupun rugi bersih will be found out by having hasil to add in or belanja to minus out from it. Okay, so we already finished the main three types of items. Now for the bottom, hasil and belanja, no need to memorize. Hi guys, I'm back again. Okay, I think I stopped at understand, then okay, they stopped me already. But by the way, yeah, I was kicked out of my Zoom again. I'm not sure. I think it's because of the Wi-Fi. Happens like 2 times already. Oh my god, so frustrating actually. Yeah, it's not your problem. Just now my Mandarin class, even my computer shuts down by itself also. What a day, man. Okay, come, let's continue. So for our hasil and belanja. Hasil, right, you just look for the word wang diterima daripada certain thing. Okay, while belanja, you look for membayar. The term at the back. Okay, now to make sure you don't take the wrong thing as your hasil, is whenever they say wang diterima daripada, if they put account belum terima, that is not hasil. Why? Because ABT is a person. How can you put it under hasil? Hasil must be non-living thing, okay? It must be just a term itself. But ABT is a person that we're referring to. So that ABT is gonna be related to what? Your assets semasa already lah. That is talking about hutang, the debt. Okay. Well, same thing goes to the belanja here. If you see membayar kepada ABB, don't take it as belanja. Why? Because ABB again is a person. You are trying to pay for your debt, but not an item. Okay, so that is hasil dengan belanja. So how we settle with these two, as I say, they have no place in the table. So the only option we can have is to put them into this column called untung per se. That is our equity per minute. Can you guys see? All right. So later, if you have hasil, you will add into untung per se. But if you have belanja, you will minus out from the untung per se. Okay, so that's it for the klasifikasi. Now it's perfect because we still have about 25 minutes of time for me to explain the persamaan P.Akaun with you guys. Hopefully we can finish most of the parts of the question now, okay? All right, so come, let's go to page number 8. Page number 8 here is the format for persamaan P.Akaun. So just example lah, in case you all need it, right? I put it on top for you already. When to use account belum bayar? When you beli secara kredit, because you never pay, so it's called belum bayar. While menjual secara kredit, you are selling, you should be receiving, but have you? You haven't, so it's called belum terima. So that is the situation where you use them. Okay, now special situation to use ABT and ABB, right, is that if you see jual kepada Alice RM 200, full stop. You realize that this sentence does not have payment method. Okay, did you realize? They only said that, okay, I sell to Alice with 200 ringgit, and then what happened? Alice just took my item. Okay, she knows that it's a 200 ringgit, but did she pay me? If she did, the question will tell you that it's through check or through cash, but no, they didn't. So means what? If there's no payment method, hutang. So your option would be A, B, T, or ABB. So again, how do you choose between terima or bayar? Look at the word jual. If you sell, you should be receiving. So ABT it is. Okay, right. So here, follow the formula. Asset equals to liability plus EP. So the table they will provide for you one, and most likely they will fill up the names inside there for you lah. You just follow only to do it, and you are not allowed to add on columns by yourself. You can only work with the existing things that are provided inside. So whichever they didn't provide for you, you can only find ways to put in lah. Okay, all right. So to balance, asset equals to liability plus EP. So means that we must always have at least two things recorded. Minimum 2 kali di-record of the value. Okay, the value must be recorded at least 2 times for us to be able to balance the formula. So of course minimum is 2 times. I never say maximum. You want to do 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, or 10 times, 100 times, no problem, as long as you can fit lah and can balance, right? Okay, so here is the minimum 2 times. Okay, so here For the target wise, they will give you accordingly. Just fill up the dates. Now reminder, you will never use more than one row for each dates, yeah. Unless they are sharing the same dates but different transactions, then okay, you are using 2 rows. But if you're telling me that, oh, in that sentence, you feel like inventory used 2 times. No, you will never have inventory plus inventory minus at the same time. No such thing for the same date. Example, on the 1st. Unless you're telling me this is 1st, this is on the 4th. It's a different transaction, different date, then yes, possible. So remind yourself, every urus niaga, 1 row only. Okay, and now for ambilan, very special case. This ambilan is our klasifikasi negative EP, right? But nowadays, the latest format to do this persamaan P.Akaun is they do not allow us to put any brackets inside, as in you cannot label all the ambilan as a negative form. So only record positive, right? Which causes your transaction to not balance. Example, right? If I put like this, okay, pemilik mengambil bank untuk kegunaan sendiri RM 200. How are we going to record? Number 1, we will look at the key point bank and also kegunaan sendiri. Okay, let's assume that we have already other things inside lah, but this one here is on the 12th of January. Okay, so I put somewhere, maybe it's here, 12th. Now, how am I going to record? I'll record bank being deducted because mengambil mah. So bank is going to deduct by 200. We put in bracket form. But as for mengambil, which is the kegunaan sendiri, proves it as ambilan, we will need to record it this way. Can you see that now? If I draw the line between asset, liability, and EP, we are not balanced because the left side is negative, the right side is positive. But they do allow this. They don't want them to be the same because ambilan doesn't allow to put in bracket form. So that comes a problem is when you finally done until the last stage, isn't it? You will move the 200 into the last row. And as you press on your calculator, you are supposed to remind yourself to press on negative for the 200. When calculate using calculator, you will need to press negative 200. Can you guys understand? So the rest of the item I will plus, but when it comes to ambilan, even though the number is shown as positive here, but it doesn't mean as positive because what? Because the klasifikasi of ambilan is a negative type. So you need to remind yourself, do not go and plus. You go and plus, you're not going to get your asset to balance with your right hand side already, because the difference is going to be that the positive 200. Okay, so that is what I wanted to clarify with you guys, because that is a new thing for the entire question. So the rest of them are quite okay lah. I think just very normal. If untung per se you see hasil, then you plus or put positive, maybe 100. If you see belanja, then you put negative, let's say 220 ringgit, so bracket. Okay, so now the example is done already. Let's go on to the actual question itself. Now, I think I don't want to aim too much lah because I don't think I can finish the whole thing. So the penyata kedudukan kewangan, I already put the format here for you guys. If you all ever need it, you can do your revision or try it out using this format example here. But I'm not going to do it with you guys, okay? I aim to finish only question 1. The persamaan P.Akaun. Now, of course, I already prepared space for you. You can anytime fill it up by yourself, which is the B. Answers are all at the back, yeah, guys. Okay, so here. For question number 1, they already written, Anda dikehendaki menyediakan. This is on page number 9, yeah. Okay, page 9. They told you to menyediakan jadual persamaan P.Akaun mengikut format seperti di bawah. Guys, if they show you like this, means you have to draw by yourself into your, what do we call that, test pad. Okay, if they do like this for you, means you draw yourself. But they already tell you properly what are the columns you need lah. So you just follow accordingly. It's not very difficult. Just need to waste some time drawing. But other than that, if they don't want you to draw by yourself, they will most likely just give you a table nicely. You fill up will do. Okay, so here they said, Encik Daud memulakan perniagaan Dawn Enterprise pada 1 January 2012 dengan membawa aset berikut. Now we can see that the shop name is called Dawn Enterprise, but we have no way in telling whether what they sell, right? Yeah, I don't know. So the only way I can identify it as our product is whenever they mention the word barang or barang niaga. That would be confirmed as our inventory. Other than that, you wouldn't use inventory. If they tell you major, where do you put your major? Major is perabot. Because did they say Dawn Enterprise sells major? They didn't. So it is a type of asset, bukan semasa. Whenever they specifically mention, then it's not inventory already. Okay, yeah? So memulakan, we just started. And they brought in asset berikut. You remember I said that asset doesn't appear by itself, right? Asset is brought in by the pemilik. And what do we have to change membawa masuk into? Give you guys one clue. It starts from the alphabet. Yes, very good, Yishan and Zhenyu. So it's model. That's right. Model. So how can we find out the model? Yeah, put out the formula for persamaan P.Akaun first. Asset equals to liability plus equity per minute. And they already told you all these are assets, isn't it? You don't even need to guess it. So if they are all assets, no liability, no problem. Asset will equals to your equity per minute. So to find it, you just need to jumlahkan over here and put it down. So 3,000 plus 37,000 plus 12,000 is equals to 52,000. That is our model, equity per minute. Okay, so now what you have to do is to bring all this into your table. Now this tunai di bank is bank. Why? Because the cash is currently where? Inside the bank. So why would you call that cash, right? Cash must be in hand. So tunai di tangan is tunai. Tunai di bank is bank. Okay, so let's fill up at the back, page number 10, where I prepared the space for you already. Okay, now the 3,000 is perabot, 37 is kenderaan. And bank is 12,000. So once you fill up the three numbers according to their own columns, then you will find your row not balanced. You see? Now it's only the asset side that we have things, but I need my liability EP to be the same as well. That's why even if you didn't realize it at the beginning, you should be realizing it when you fill up the table, isn't it? So it's not balanced. I will put the 52,000 into model. Now you see, for this question, they did give you ambulan, they did give you untung per se. Just a slight reminder that ambulan is our negative EP, but you are not allowed to put any brackets within the column, even until the end. But as you calculate, you will press negative for it, yeah? Okay, so when to use untung per se, you will put in hasil plus belanja dan minus. Okay, so let's begin with the rest of the urus niaga. Starting from point number 1. Point number 1 states that beli barang niaga secara kredit 3,500. Y'all can try to answer if you want to, yeah? So no forcing, but if you can answer, you can let me know. Beli barang niaga secara kredit. We have to change into two things. Number 1, barang niaga, I already gave you the answer. If you can see it up here, barang niaga must be inventory. So the payment method can be either bank or no payment, which is secara kredit. So here they already said it's secara kredit, right? Should I call it account belum terima or account belum bayar? So as I mentioned, if you want it to be fast, right? Every time you see secara kredit, you remind yourself you need to change it into AB first. And then you need to know what is at the back, right? So if it's beli bayar, B. Jual means terima. So then you can match it at the back. So in this case, yes, correct, because it's beli A, B, B. That's right. Okay, so we have inventory to plus Y plus. Because I bought my barangan is gonna increase with the value of 3,005. But what about ABB? If we're talking about money, my money didn't get lesser, but instead I start to owe this account belong buyer more and more. So this is also going to be positive. So remind yourself that ABB is a form of hutang lah. So if you didn't pay, of course, hutang akan bertambah. Okay, so let's put it into our table. 3,005 for both inventory and account belong buyer, yeah? 3,500, 3,500. So can you see your left and the right side is now balanced. Okay, so we continue to the second transaction. Second transaction says that bayar sewa dengan cek 600. So key point is sewa, check. Did you see that they said the word bayar? Just now I said, right, how to identify hasil or belanja. Hasil is when they say wang diterima. When belanja is the word starting from bayar. And you just need to look at the back whether it's a person or not. If it's a person, then it's not belanja already. But you see, where got ABB? No ABB, right? It's a sewa wo. Sewa is rental. So we consider it as an expenses. So if it's belanja, we put into untung per se, but negative form. Is that all right? So belanja transfer into untung per se, negative. And as for check, check stands for bank. When you bayar dengan check, do you think your money can increase? No, I pay. Of course, money will decrease. So both of them will be negative form, 600 ringgit. Okay, so we go to the table and put in, yeah, bank bracket 600. Untung per se, also bracket 600. Done. See, balance. We have both sides to be both negative 600. That is okay, just as long as they are the same figure. Together negative, together positive. Sure. All right, now we go to the third point. Third point, jual barang niaga berkos 800 secara kredit pada harga 1,900. So you see, barang niaga secara credit, but there's a different harga there, isn't it? Now the item is berkos 800. Berkos can be meaning as the original price. Negative means when it's minus, means it get lesser. So like bank just now, I pay of course my money get lesser, so we put the negative. But if you receive money, bank gets more, we just put the number in, that's it. Yeah, so negative time we put a bracket. Means minus, getting lesser. Okay, so here, draw barang niaga. Barang niaga stands for inventory. Now, it's a bit packed here, so I'm going to write outside. Barang niaga stands for inventory. And they told you the price of the inventory is actually originally 800. So it means I only took out a 800 worth of inventory, right, to sell. So why minus? Because I took it out. Do I still have them? No, so minus 800. And then secara credit, as I say, every time secara credit, you write AB first. And then what? Draw. You sell, should you receive or should you pay? If you sell, you should be receiving. So ABT. What does ABT means? No matter it's ABT or ABB, both is hutang, right? Hutang now will increase because the person did not pay you. Your customer owes you money, yeah? How much is it? Now, you didn't sell to them 800 ringgit. Instead, you sold it to them at the price of 1,900. So that is the amount they will owe you, of course. Okay, now from this transaction, can you see the difference on the price? My item is only 800, but I sold it for 1,900. Didn't I earn some money through it? That is the intention of the sales, right? Okay, if I don't sell at a higher price, how do I earn? So how much do we earn? Guys, you'll find out the difference. My item is 800. I sold it for 1,900. I will be earning total to 1,100. Correct. So your untung per se is going to increase by that because you really untung, right? Untung then positive. Okay, so we are cut into the table, yeah? Inventory minus 800. inventory minus 800. Account belum terima is going to increase by 1,009 because they have yet to pay you, right? You didn't receive the 1,009. And even though if you didn't receive, but yet this transaction happened. So if you ever receive back the money, you do have the untung, which is 1,100. So all this must be recorded as well. So can you see now? Your left side and your right side is equals to each other, 1,100. Okay, so this is for number 3. Let's continue to number 4. Okay, so number 4. Number 4 is bayar, account belum bayar. Now guys, do you remember this point too? Also bayar, but at the back of it is a saver. But here is bayar to who? Account belum bayar is a person. So it's no longer belanja lah. Nothing to do with untung bersih for now, but ABB. If I pay to account belum bayar, what will happen to my hutang? Of course, my hutang will get lesser because I'm trying to clear the debt, right? My debt get lesser lah. But how much? Dengan check 2850. Okay, now definitely that is not my hutang. You know why? Because they put the 2850 not behind of ABB, but behind of the word check. So means yes, my bank have issued 2850. That is the money I spent. Okay, but why did I only pay 2850? Because I received a discount of 150. Now, many students were confused with this, whether it's before discount or after discount. I would say this is definitely after discount, because who would ask you to write a check that is wrong amount? Hey, you write 2850 lah. Write already. Hey, sorry. Actually got discount. Can you write again? Your customer or your supplier is going to be so angry at you. So that's why when we decided to ask someone to write a piece of check, we will tell them the exact price they need to pay, which is here should be after discount, 150. Okay, so what is the number before discount then? Can anyone tell me? If 2850 is after discount, after the deduction, then what is before? Means you add this into it lah. 2850 plus 150 before discount is actually 3,000. That is exactly the amount of debt I am trying to pay off. So good actually they give me discount. It's possible one because maybe you're trying to clear the debt in a very short period of time. Maybe just few days later you pay them already, so they feel happy with it. They just say, okay lah, you pay so fast, then I give you a bit of discount lah. So here the 150 is something good, right? Do you see the word terima? This is actually our hasil. Hasil we will put into untung bersih as positive, but only 150. So you see, as we fill out into the table, you should be able to get them balanced one. Bank is negative 2850. Bank negative 2850. Account belum bayar cleared 3,000. But how can I clear 3,000 with just 2850 worth of check? It's because they decided to give me a discount of 150. So can you see? 3,000 in negative plus 150. Your answer on the other side here is negative 2850. Isn't it balanced with this side? That is what we want. Okay, so if in confusion, right, you guys are not sure what is supposed to be the figure here, I teach you guys one way. You see, the formula is A equals to L plus EP. So if you can tell that your asset is a negative 2850, that your 150 is a positive 150, you want to find out what is this liability, right? A bit like maths. Do you see that you should move your EP towards the other side? So what would it become? Isn't it negative 2850 minus 150 will equals to the liability? And as you do that, do you get negative 3,000? Exactly like this. Yeah, so if in confusion, you forgot how to find out the original figure, you don't simply do, you write out this formula first, then put the unknown as your liability, you should be able to find them out. Okay, so that's it for our point 4. Okay, now I just prep you guys a bit first, because I only left with about 2 minutes time. I don't think I can finish the whole thing, but at the end of here, you will have to draw a line. Maybe if you're lazy, you don't need to draw a lot, but I usually want to because it looks more tidier. So I will draw a line and then you have to move every single one of them downwards as their own figure. Okay, so once you've done that, right, I use red pen means you don't need to write out one. You will have to combine all your assets together. And then put it below here as the equals. And the other side, you also do the same thing. Equals. But here I'm reminding you guys that your unbalance is supposed to be minus. So of course, exam time, I wouldn't be there to remind you already. You need to tell yourself so that unbalance, please press negative, don't press positive. Okay, so that is what I want to tell you guys for this part here. Okay, so can teacher like give the answer for 7 and 8? Yeah, sure. Come, 7, yeah, 7. So I'm gonna skip 5 and 6 for now, yeah. I'm gonna go straight to 7 and 8. So 7 is sekeping cek yang diterima daripada akaun belum terima 507 telah dipulangkan oleh bank dengan bertanda rujuk penyuruh bayar. Now this one here is actually a check tak laku, as in rejected by the bank because there's something wrong with the check. It's either your customer's account, bank account, having some problem, or that they don't even have this balance in their bank account. So that's why the bank decided to reject it and return back to you. So when the check is being returned back, did I manage to receive? I thought I received it. But the bank told me, sorry, please rujuk kepada penyuruh bayar. You cannot get this figure. Then how can I reverse the whole thing? Because I used to thought that I received so I will add into the bank on the spot. Who knows, after a few days, the bank informed me. So to do this, we will have to minus out the figure out from your bank account because you did not get it. And as for your account belum terima, they gave you a faulty check. What should you do? You should tambah back their hutang. So to make them pay you again next time. Yeah, so it means the payment is not accepted. So they have to pay you again next time. So to reverse the whole thing, I will add back the hutang of my ABT and minus the amount out from my bank account. Because this bank here is written by myself, so I thought I received it. Now faster reverse the whole thing. Okay, so this one is point 7. Now for point 8, pemilik telah mengeluarkan cek untuk kegunaan peribadi. Mengeluarkan cek means bank. And if I mengeluarkan, you will have to deduct from your bank account. Bank is going to be lesser by 610. And also, they said kegunaan peribadi. Peribadi stands for personal. So if it's for personal use that he or she took out, then this would be considered as ambilan. So you remember just now I gave you all the example of ambilan, right? Ambilan cannot put negative form 1, so we can only stick with the positive value 610. So to record that, okay, I'm going to show you guys for 7 and 8. Yeah? 7 is 507. 0.7. 507 deducted from your bank because you did not actually receive it, and you're going to tambah back into ABT because they gave you a faulty check. How can their hutang become lesser, right? So we add it back. Okay, now that's it for your 0.7. You see, I don't have both sides, but it's still balanced because here nothing means 0. Negative plus with the same figure, isn't it also equals to 0? So it doesn't need to be having things on both sides. It can be on one side, but you just need to make sure that in the end, the result is 0. Means the other side also don't have anything to fill up. Is that okay? All right. And then for number 8, number 8 is going to be the ambilan question. So 610, right? It was taken out from the bank, so we will minus 610 here. But for ambulan, it's not going to be balanced. It's going to be like this. Okay, now I believe that ambulan is only one. Let me check, yeah. I don't think there's any other ambulan anymore from here. So it should be the only one of ambulan. You put it down here like this. But reminder that later when you use your calculator, you press negative 610. This 0.8 is impossible to balance one because they intended for you to do this. All right, so that's it for today. I hope you guys have learned many things for your Bab 1 and Bab 2. Prepare for your exam. So if there's any questions you guys would like to ask me also before your exam, you can access to me through Instagram. But I cannot guarantee because sometimes they throw your messages into the request message. So if I didn't check there, then I cannot see your message. You'll just try your luck. Okay. All right. Bye bye. See you guys next time. Good luck for your exam. Bye bye.